Okay, this is an attempt to try to distill this and get this information out here. This guy right here is Dr. Francis Boyle, who drafted the Biological Weapons Act. And right here, he gives a detailed statement admitting that the 2019 Wuhan coronavirus is an offensive biological warfare weapon and that the World Health Organization knows about it. So I'm going to play just some of this right here. This guy from Geopolitics and Empire does a really good job with this interview, but I want to play about a 5-minute clip here, and then I want to play what Tom Cotton says about this seemingly fabricated story from mainstream media that this whole thing started in a Wuhan seafood market, and we'll try to connect the dots, but check this out.
Now, let's get to what's been on the news recently, this coronavirus in Wuhan. There have been some reports recently. There's a really interesting website called Great Game India that has been reporting on this. And they've been talking about China, which...
Now, let me just stop right there for a second. This is the website. It's called Great Game India, and there's two notable articles, and I'll leave the links in the description. U.S. Senator Tom Cotton questions mainstream media's narrative on coronavirus. I'm just going to go ahead and play what he says right here real quick, and then I'll show you the next link.
They also claimed for almost 2 months until earlier this week that it had originated in a seafood market in Wuhan, that locals had contracted it from animals in, say, bat soup or snake tartare. That is not the case. The Lancet published a study last weekend demonstrating that of the original 40 cases, 14 of them had no contact with the seafood market, including patient 0. As one epidemiologist said, that virus went into the seafood market before it came out of the seafood market. We still don't know where it originated. Could have been another seafood market. Could have been a farm. Could have been a food processing company. I would note that Wuhan also has China's only biosafety level 4 super laboratory that works with the world's most deadly pathogens, to include, yes, coronavirus.
Now, that last part right there is very important. This next link that I'm going to include in the description is this one from the same site, Coronavirus Bioweapon, How China Stole Coronavirus from Canada and Weaponized It. So let's get back to this interview.
They say has been complying with Biological Weapons Convention in recent years, but then there are some people in the U.S. and experts that have been saying that in reality China isn't complying with the Weapons Convention, and I think neither perhaps the U.S. As well. And you know, I'm wondering if China is developing its own biosafety level 4 lab in Wuhan and elsewhere, as you know, as a type of deterrence. Is it a type of biological arms race that we have going on? You told me in an email that you suspect China was developing the coronavirus as a dual-use biowarfare weapons agent. And also, what do you make of reports that Chinese scientists have been stealing research and viruses, including the coronavirus, from a Canadian biolab this past December? And as well, Chinese nationals have been charged with smuggling vials of biological research to China from the U.S. With the aid of Charles Leiber, who was the chair of Harvard's chemistry department, and who also happened to be in 2011 a strategic scientist at Wuhan University. So can you tell us what's going on with this recent outbreak in Wuhan?
Right. Well, that's a lot of questions. I guess we can take them one at a time. But if you just do a very simple Google search on does China have a BSL-4 laboratory, Wuhan comes up right away. It's at the top of the list. That's all. The moment this type of thing happened, I began to do that. And so a BSL-4 is the most serious type. And basically, BSL-4 labs, we have many of them here in the United States, are used to develop offensive biological warfare weapons with DNA genetic engineering. So it does seem to me that the Wuhan BSL-4 is the source of the coronavirus, yes. And my guess is that they were researching SARS and they weaponized it further by giving it gain of function properties, which means it could be more lethal And indeed, the latest report now is its 15% fatality rate, which is more than.
Now, that's notable because a 15% mortality or fatality rate is not what mainstream media is reporting by any stretch of the imagination.
SARS, at 83% infection rate. So typical gain of function, it travels in the air. So it could reach out maybe 6 feet or more from someone emitting a sneeze or a cough. Likewise, this is a specially designated WHO research lab. So the WHO is in on it, and they knew full well what was going on there. Yes, it's also been reported that China.
I don't doubt that. How could the World Health Organization not know about this? Another question that I would ask is how deeply involved is Israel and Mossad in this? Because nobody's talking about that I've seen.
Chinese scientists stole coronavirus materials from the Canadian lab at Winnipeg. Winnipeg is Canada's foremost center for research, developing, testing biological warfare weapons. It's along the lines of Fort Detrick here in the United States of America. And yeah, I have 3 degrees from Harvard. Would not surprise me if something was being stolen out of Harvard to turn over to China. I read that report. I don't know what was in those vials one way or the other. But the bottom line is, my opinion is, and I drafted the U.S. domestic implementing legislation for the Biological Weapons Convention that was approved unanimously by both houses of the United States Congress, signed into law by President Bush Sr., that it appears the coronavirus that we're dealing with here is an offensive biological warfare weapon that leaked out of that Wuhan BSL-4. I'm not saying it was done deliberately, but there have been previous reports of problems with that lab and things leaking out of it. And I'm afraid that is what we are dealing with today.
Now, I just want to note also right here, you're not hearing any of this on mainstream fake stream media, and we all know the reason for that. They're in bed with the government, of course. Now, something I wanted to show you, I've just updated this. Let me update this again live. As of 8:30, I don't know if that's Central Standard Time. If it is, it's about 47 minutes, 48 minutes ago. Confirmed. These are just numbers coming out of China, which you absolutely cannot trust. Confirmed 24,579 deaths, 493 recovered, 909. I don't believe any of these numbers, but even if it was 20% true, that's a horrible ascension rate right there. I just wanted to give you the meat of this, where he's talking about this being an offensive biological warfare weapon. And I just want to ask you guys what you guys think about it, and leave your comments, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of deception happening, and it's coming out of the liars from mainstream media, the liars from our own government, and the communist liars of China. So it's hard to tell what's really going on. We see all these videos coming out where there's 8, 10, 12 people dying in a 5-minute period from people who claim to be going through a hospital in Wuhan, China. If that's the case, there's way more dead bodies than we can possibly imagine. Certainly more than are being reported by Chinese officials. Well, guys, if you haven't done so, subscribe to this channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share them with everybody you know, and don't forget to subscribe to my private email list through my website, highimpactflix.com. I'll try to stay up on this. The only complexity is that, staying up on it means everything gets filtered through a den of liars, basically. So I'll see you guys in the next heavily censored shadow ban video. Also, I'll leave the link to Geopolitics and Empire so that you can watch the rest of this. It's a 38-minute interview, and it looks pretty interesting, although there was one question down here. So, Dr. Boyle, are you saying you would trust Pirbright vaccine? These are the people who have the patent on this virus, knowing the association with The master eugenicist Bill Gates, do you really know what's in it? I would not trust any vaccine coming out of any of these people, guys. I mean, if the virus doesn't kill you, starvation will. They got a lockdown on tens of millions of people in China right now. And then if the starvation and the virus doesn't kill you, maybe the vaccine will. So who knows what's going on here? Just keep your eyes open, keep asking questions, don't believe everything, and question everybody. I'll see you guys in the next video.